This is an export commodity. I deal with spatial planning. That is how we distribute activities in space, not in outer space, but on the land surface. I work with regional planning, green space planning, not real urban planning, but the larger scale like this. And this is a result of sustainability ideas, how to build a city region with a sustainability agenda. That is good, livable environments, close contact between residential areas and green space. Green space is my subject, my main research subject. Close contact between the urban and good recreational facilities as Køge Strandpark. Separation between big polluting industries and the residential areas. The whole population hooked up on infrastructures like motorways and railroads. Close buildings or condensed buildings around the train stations and the semi-detached or detached houses far away from the train station. This is an all sustainability agenda, building cities that doesn't leave a mess for the next generation. This is of course only a local environment, but this is related to this plan, which many of you will know already, the Finger Plan, which was an attempt to create a sustainable city before the word was even popular. It's from 1947. It was a plan for residents, for transport, for industry, commerce, administration, and green space. And the idea was that no one should live very far away from green space, that's what's in between the fingers, and no one should live far away from a train station in order to get fast and efficient to the city center. This city was planned for like 600,000 inhabitants, but since 1947 we rather have a metropolis of 1.6 million inhabitants. So that's upscaling. Continuing with this idea, the fingers as the guiding principle for urban growth, keeping green space in between the fingers, so we have the cities embedded in a mosaic of attractive recreational areas. Today, or in the last version from 2013, it's still a plan for residents, transport, industry, commerce, and so on, but it's also a plan for health, for human health, for biodiversity, for cultural history, and not least, climate change mitigation. The green space started as recreational areas for the population, and now it's one of our biggest assets when we are dealing with climate change. So, planning can provide us with guidelines, and planning good plans can be so good that others are inspired by them. And very often I get visitors from abroad and say, how can you make this plan function? Because we have also good plans in Frankfurt or Osaka or Cape Town. And I say, well, it requires continuity. We have to plan an idea and continue to promote it. And it also depends on the political will. It requires a non-corrupt society. It requires that you respect legislation. It requires transparency. And a lot of places in the world, we don't exactly have these three things. But we do here, and that's the reason why we can uphold the supply of attractive green space areas in close contact with the cities. The Finger Plan has drawbacks and successes. I will stress the green space, the maintenance of the green space, as one of the biggest successes of the Finger Plan. It's a robust idea. During 7 decades, planners and politicians has accepted this metaphor of the fingers as a planning guiding principle. And it has been very adaptive to changing needs of the society. The original Finger Plan was planned for an industrial society where people moved in from the countryside, just like in China today. And that's why the Chinese come to our department and ask, hey, let's see the Finger Plan. How did you do this? And one of my favorite stories is from Vestskov, just west of Copenhagen, 1,500 hectares forest planted in the 1960s and 70s. In the middle of Vestskov, there is Hasted Høje, artificial hills created by rubble from demolished houses from downtown Copenhagen in the 1960s and 70s. And I took this bunch of urban planners from around the world to Hasted Høje. And one of the Japanese guys, he asked, what is this? I said, this is rubble. But now it's not a very beautiful hill, but the view is very beautiful. You can look at all Greater Copenhagen. You can really see the finger plan from above. But this Japanese guy said, what is it? It's rubble, I said. It's rubble from demolished houses. And you know, this was just after the tsunami in Japan. You know, that took out the nuclear power plant, but it also took out entire cities. And so they had a lot of rubble. And they had this constant threat from the ocean. And he saw this and he said, this is fantastic, this is a solution. We just pile all our rubble in big dumps, and this is where we go when the next tsunami comes. And he took his cell phone, and he was talking like in a Kurosawa movie, you know, hey, and he was gesticulating with his colleagues in Japan. I've got the solution. I figured this was in the middle of the night in Japan. And this is why I say this is an export commodity. The way we have designed and managed Greater Copenhagen is in many ways something that can inspire an entire world. And this is on an almost a regular basis. I get all these visitors from around the world to see this finger plan, this traffic-oriented plan, this fantastic provision of green space, and also these solutions that we never ever figured would be of any interest to anyone. This is my point of departure for the discussion. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And to the point, Henrik. Thank you very much.
Okay, 5 minutes.